Greeting YouTube, time for a gaming video, and I'm wearing Cthulhu. Seemed only appropriate. So, back in the ancient primordial ooze, when dinosaurs roamed the world, back in the era of 1st and 2nd edition AD&D, Advanced Dungeons and Dragons, there was chaos magic. Now I'm sure chaos magic still exists in some version of D&D, either directly, or either from the core or from some third-party supplement. But it was 2nd edition was when I first encountered it, and if I remember the mechanism correctly, every time a chaos mage cast a spell, they would roll, and sometimes it would roll at a power level that normally it would be. Sometimes it would be less powerful, sometimes it would be more powerful, and sometimes it would go really weird. And there were also zones of chaos that would skew these options even further. So chaos magic was very volatile, could be very powerful, be very dangerous. And I think there was a list of somewhat limited options that you could end up with if you rolled on that random chart. Well, someone by the name of Orrex, O-R-R-E-X, created the Net Libram of Random Magical Effects version 2.0, and this is a list of 1 to 10,000 of random effects. Then these could be cast by a person, or because you entered a zone and cast a magic spell, or a combination thereof. Just a random effect happens to a spellcaster, and this is the result. So I thought I would do 5 of these today, because 5 seems to be the number I like to do on these kind of things. And I have whipped up a Google random number generator. I have set it to generate a number between 1 and 10,000. So we're going to hit that, and we're going to see what we get. We have 789. So let's try 789. Whoop, I went too far. When you get 10,000, it isn't hard to go too far, too fast. 7, 8, 9. Here we go. Caster disgorges a wrought iron staircase banister. So, you vomit up a banister made of wrought iron, which is probably not the effect you wanted, though it is magical. You can't say it isn't, because normally you don't even vomit up very small quantities of wrought iron, let alone an entire banister. I mean, I'm thinking of the banister I've got outside right now. That's a 19-step banister. That'd be really darn unpleasant. And it'd probably take most of your time in the combat to do that, pretty much taking you out of the encounter as you disgorge this, and then probably had to lie there and gasp and wheeze and be very ill. I can't imagine that you would not end up nauseated and stunned at the end of that particular event. Wow, that's a weird ass result. So let's try number 2. 52! Way back up at the top of the list. Here we go. After each spell, caster applauds himself. So I would say that this takes place for an encounter. So you cast the spell, and at the end of the spell, you give yourself a round of applause. And then when you cast another spell, you do the same thing till eventually you stop casting spells, and there's a X amount of time passes until you cast the next spell, and then that effect wears off. I would not have that become a permanent effect on that person, or at least not have it last more than a few days. Depends on how wild a surge of chaos it was. If it's a very minor one, maybe it lasts the rest of the day. If it was a major one, maybe it lasts a week, 10 days, something like that. I kind of like that one. Very good, very good, very good. Golf clap, golf clap, golf clap. That's funny. Alrighty, random generator back here. 2567. We're going a little deeper into the list. 2567. I'm in the 25s now. Here we go. Each night as Caster sleeps, he is 5% likely to trigger a burst. So this is a permanent effect. So every time the person sleeps, there's a 5% chance that a chaos event takes place. Now this I like. I like this because it's not necessarily dangerous, but it's unpredictable, and it's definitely going to, for example, make the party want to put the spellcaster in a tree or on the edge of their campsite so that he is not the center of what's going on, because he is a living, breathing grenade when he sleeps now. That changes the way the party treats the spellcaster, or the way the spellcaster treats himself, because can he sleep at home? Does he run that risk? What if something really bad happens? Yeah. That's interesting. I like that. It adds a lot of good flavor. So that was number 3. Let's try number 4. 5584. 5584. 42. 51. 55. Whoop, gotta go back up a little higher. What was that? 84. 55, 84. Okay. We're back into the disgorging. Target disgorges a 2-foot square pane of glass. So you cast a spell. The spell works, whatever capacity it works. And then the target, instead of getting the effect you wanted, they disgorge a pane of glass. Now, since it's would it harm them? Or would it be like, you disgorge this like tube of glass and it just goes wing and lands on the ground and shatters, unless you're in the water or something. Or does it come point first and split their skull open and essentially kill them? That would be grotesque, but that would be an effective way of killing a target, now wouldn't it? I think I might actually do that if sorry, I got an itchy nose, I'm tired. I think if the intention of the caster was to kill a target, that would be a good way of doing it. That's very colorful, very memorable. Remember the time when Rolf blew a guy's head open with a pane of glass? Oh wow, man. That's just too wicked. Okay, number 5. 9648. So I didn't ask to get the full range of this list, but I got the full range of this list. 9648. 96. Here we go. Someone nearby has a legitimate claim to the throne. So does this locate a person that has a legitimate claim on the throne? As in, like, you cast this spell and you now know where the closest person who has a legitimate claim to a throne is? They may not know they have a legitimate claim to the throne. Maybe they do know they have a legitimate claim to the throne, but they're in hiding because they would rather not be killed by the person that's currently sitting on the throne. Or does this manufacture a legitimate claim to the throne? Like, suddenly, like, paperwork and lineages and heraldic charts like fall out of the sky, and suddenly this person who's a sheep herder discovers that they have a legitimate claim to become the queen of the realms. Herdess, I guess. But yeah, herder. Herdess? Is it herdess the feminine version of herder? Is herder masculine? Is herder a neutral term? Look that up for me, will you? Both of those is fascinating. Because one, if the person doesn't know, that's a whole new adventure thread right there, man. If they do know, and they're in hiding, and now you know, that's also an adventure thread. Do you help them? Do you blackmail them? Do you turn them over to the person sitting on the throne for a big ass reward? Are they good people or are they bad people? Or is it more of a gray world where that doesn't matter so much? And if you just created a legitimate, that's going to just throw everything topsy-turvy now, isn't it? Wow, that's a good one. That's a good one. Alrighty, I like this. This is an excellent thread plot generation source. It really is. But yeah, that's interesting as all get out. I like that. So this has been the Net Libram of magical random effects, and I will provide a link to this document. It's a PDF. You can go get a copy for yourself. I have a copy on my hard drive, but I just happened to pull up this link because I had the link to this thing handier than looking it up in my hard drive. So it might be useful to you as both a GM as a player, or just as a generator of ideas. You know what I mean? Because even if your game doesn't contain chaos magic, maybe that you want to throw something in there and say, like, you know, someone has a prophetic dream and they know where the legitimate claim is, or they find some magical MacGuffin and they open it and there's a big red button and they push it and they suddenly generate a legitimate claim to the throne, and it isn't one of the party, it's somebody else. Because if it is one of the party, that could be a little OP, but it also could be interesting and could be appropriate if your group is already politicking, is fairly powerful, or has never got into politicking and you would like to move the group into politicking, or the group decides they would like to move into politicking. This would be a really bizarre and strange hook to get them in that particular position, but I still think it has some merit. I really do. So yeah, so this has been the Net Libram of random magical effects. I hope you found it interesting. I know I did. And I hope that you get some use from the book itself.